had this gal that I worked with, and she had worked with Deepak Chopra for a long time. And we were sitting in a coffee shop in California, and she was saying, I don't know if I should write this. They all Velcro their wrist to their forehead for half an hour about how their stuff isn't good enough or valuable enough, or what do they have to say? There's so many other people who speak on this and write on this. And I said, you have to understand that not everybody knows what you know. You spent all this time examining this. They were off doing other things. So you think everybody knows what you know. Everybody knows Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dyer. I mean, come on. And I was like, hang on a minute. So I stand up, and was this little coffee shop is kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I stood up and I said, excuse me, I'm doing a marketing survey. Would somebody be willing to tell me who here has heard of Deepak Chopra? And this guy over here in a little feed hat, a seed and feed hat on, he goes, deep pockets, what, ma'am? And I said, would you please buy his lunch? I'll put it on my tab. That was excellent marketing research. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I said, okay, well, how about Wayne Dyer? And this guy on the other side, got a pair of jeans on and a little bow tie. And he says, isn't that the guy at the feed and seed store? And I said, yeah, close enough. Okay, would you please, I'm buying his lunch too. Thank you very much. And I sat down and I said, everyone does not know who Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dyer is. You and all your little friends do because you hang out and talk about this stuff, but everybody doesn't. Yeah. And, so I think we have a tendency to downplay our own brilliance. And that's where you come in, is you can find what really would be valuable to another person.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking of a client that we share who didn't think their story was very interesting. And it's one of the most exciting leader legacy chapters I've ever written.
Oh my God, I love that leader's legacy story. Yeah. Oh, I know exactly who you mean. Yeah, we'll call him Phil. But yeah, Phil's got like this most incredible story that, like, from childhood and the things he's done. Yeah, you have to read the book to get it. But geez, yeah, I mean, I know we want to give these away, but yeah, I mean, and not only was he a COO of a Fortune 50 company, but he has an incredible history and background that goes all the way back to a fascinating childhood and military life. It just, really, really interesting. Yeah, to hear the number of people that are like, who'd be interested in that? And then you're like, what? Everybody would be, my friend Jeff Sauls, that got himself into the Speakers Hall of Fame with this one story that he tells. Again, I know it's always over food, but I'm sitting over food with Jeff, and I said, how did you get into being an anthropologist and climbing mountains and doing all that stuff? He goes, well, I had this friend, Steve McAndrews, and he came from Texas, big, good looking guy. And he goes, in high school, my nickname was Puffy. I was the short Jewish guy. I'm like, Puffy? And he goes, yep, Puffy. And he said, so I would stand next to Steve, hoping girls that were draping themselves on him would fall onto me. I said, how'd that go? No, not too well. And so he said, so Jeff, would you mind if we went down to South America and climbed a mountain? And Jeff was like, that sounds cold. And he goes, no. Because we climb a mountain, we get to the top of the mountain, we get to name the mountain, we would be famous. And Jeff's like, it still sounds cold. Steve, sounding cold, no matter how slowly you tell me in your Texas accent, this is cold. And he goes, Jeff, you don't understand. We go to South America, we climb a mountain, we get to the top of the mountain, we get to name the mountain, we come back, but we'll be famous and the girls will like you. He said, Jeff starts packing. He starts packing all this stuff, right? So they get this expedition together. They go up the mountain. They get halfway up there. They're sleeping in their little things. And he gets up, in the morning. He's freezing. And he goes over and he's like, hey, Steve, let's go, buddy. Let's go. I can't wait. We're going to get to the top. It's going to be a great day. And he looks over and Steve doesn't move. He's like, yeah, really funny, buddy. Come on, let's get going. And he's like, wait, Steve's not moving at all. And he goes to shake him, he goes to shake him, he goes to shake him. And the difference between being within the little crevice on the side of the mountain where Jeff was and being slightly further out where Steve was, the big, good-looking, masculine, picture of health, Steve McAndrews, was he froze to death on the side of the mountain.
Oh my God.
So Jeff's comes apart, doesn't know what to do. He's with a couple other people. They find a way to bring him back down. At the funeral, he says, I'm going to dedicate my life to making it an adventure because that's what Steve taught me. And He said, I don't care whether it's climbing mountains or going up to Lake Titicaca, floating around on a boat, which he did all of those things. He said, or being a dad, or, whatever I get to do, I'm going to dedicate every adventure to Steve McAndrews, because he made me who I am. And he went and he did that. Eventually, he went back. He went to Discovery Channel, let him go back and climb the mountain with another team. And he stood at the top of the mountain and said, I named this mountain Mount McAndrews for my best friend, Steve, who cannot be here. And he said, stabbed it into the ground at the top of the mountain. And now he hadn't even done that part when we were having this conversation, but the rest of it was still like, I'm in tears. I'm like, my heart's pounding. And I said, and you say that on stage in your speech, right, Jeff? And he goes, no, why would I tell anybody about that? He's like, oh no, that's just my life. Why would I tell anybody about that? Everybody is sitting on a story like that. Everybody, whether it's a great business example or it's a great personal story, everybody, or Phil with his background that he was like, why would anybody care? Everybody, and you need somebody else to pull that out of you, which is why we are lucky to have ghostwriters. And more importantly, we're lucky to have a particular ghostwriter sitting virtually across from me. So I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of my time trying to convince people of the truth, which is if they have an impulse to write a book, it's probably for a darn good reason, and they have important things to say, and they should get on with it.
Yes, I mean, cheerleading is, I think, a part of the job in my view. And
we see things they don't see.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, when you say to just get started, I would love to share just a couple of tips for an author to get started, or for someone.
That was my next question. You are so smart. I would love that. I would love that. How do you get started writing a book, or how do you get started with a ghostwriter? Either one.
Well, I'll start with writing a book really quickly. I don't know what our time is like right now, but I'll start with that.
Could go.
And then, and then go on with how to work with a ghostwriter. The first is, if you're in the ideation stage, which everybody has to be at one point, just set down your ideas. Just set them down. And a part of it is, go back to high school. I don't know if you remember sentence outlines. I hated those things for a while, and it's everything to me now, but just write down sentences of points that you want people to know. Very general. They don't have to be pretty. Write as many as you can, and then begin to organize them into what might be most important, or what might be subtopics under those sentences. And, it becomes a sentence outline, which at times can become pretty much the outline, or the direction of the book. It needs some refining, but that just gets you started. Another thing I recommend entirely, and it's from these phone calls that I have, these Zoom sessions I have with my authors that are just so pithy. So much comes out of them, and they're so remarkable. Times I've got many stories around that, but the idea is not everyone feels they can write, or if they're anything like me, as the word geek that I am, I self-censor. I self-edit as I'm writing. I have a terrible time writing for myself. So the best thing is to record it, to just record it.
Like just get on Zoom and record, or get your phone and audio record. Just record.
On your phone. Absolutely. There was a period of time when I was crossing the Bay Bridge into San Francisco regularly and being stuck on the bridge regularly. And I was giving content marketing workshops at that point. And I found myself stuck on the bridge and just started having all these great ideas about the workshop. And I pulled out my phone and recorded it. And you can transcribe from the phone. I designed 12 content marketing workshops on the bridge on my way.
That's a lot. That's a lot to design and do.
It's wonderful. And it is that way of being, and sometimes you don't ever refer to them again, but in most cases, if you do have them transcribed, and there are free services to do that, you can just kind of see, what it is you're writing. And the third fast one is to look at your client testimonials. Because there's no better way to find out how wonderful you are or how important you are in what you're doing, than from the people who love the work you do. So
the benefits of what you do would probably be right in there too. Of like what was the biggest benefit they got out of working with you is probably right in that. I never heard of that. I didn't know you did that. That's really smart. I love. Okay, I'm learning stuff every day from you. Thank you so much. I love that. That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And then see if you feel like you can write it. But the bottom line of working with a ghostwriter is time, as we talked about before. And we also talked about before, so I guess this is a recap, to work with somebody who has expertise in an area that you do not, which is writing and writing for the market and writing for it to become a bestseller
Mm.
and do what you want it to do. Because everyone I work with really are, wonderful writers in and of themselves. They just
Yeah.
have the expertise, to really make the book work in the way that
And
they.
writing a book, I think, is different than writing blogs or articles or other things they may be familiar with. I mean, you can string a few articles together, but it's not the same as having a professional
Yeah,
put those pieces together in an order that makes sense. And again, that whole fish don't see water,
that's the
forest
third.
for trees, pick your metaphor. You're so close to it that you can't necessarily see where the holes are in logic, of, well, not everybody's going to follow that if we don't explain it, or, some of those things that you just can't see because you have all that assumed knowledge. You assume everybody knows what you know. And of course, they don't. Oh, I love that. That's really interesting. Back to what you just said a second ago, would it also be, maybe you could take, I know a lot of the people that come to us speak full day programs, hour-long programs, 2-hour-long programs. Could they transcribe a speech that they were doing or a full day program that they were doing and use that as kind of a jumping off place too? Because that would still be something where what I find is that, people that get paid to speak for a living aren't necessarily people that are good at translating that into a book is just a very, very different medium. And some things are worth learning to do yourself. But I think if you're only going to do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times in your life, why take the 20 years it took you, or 30 years or whatever it's been, to get good at something that somebody else is already an expert in? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. And I love
so,
that. I love that idea. When I start
oh,
out
okay.
with clients, just to say that, yeah, I recommend that if they're giving a talk, if they're a guest on a podcast, that they
Or a
send.
TEDx or a podcast. Oh, podcast. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Podcast would be great.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very definitely, because they are live and fresh and telling what they know. Absolutely. So I do collect any content they have in that regard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I am so incredibly honored to have you as a part of the Inspiring Victory tribe at the Inspiring Victory Show. Please do us a favor. We really need your help. Please like, subscribe, share, write a comment. It makes a huge difference with how many people we can reach here at the Inspiring Victory Show, and it makes a big difference to me personally. I want to make sure that we're providing content to as many people as we possibly can so they can grow and succeed. So we'd love to have you continue your membership here at the Inspiring Victory Show. It's free. Helping us out costs nothing, but it makes a huge difference in how many people we can help. So double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And thank you so much for being a part of this extraordinary community. Thank you. So in order to prepare to work with a ghostwriter, the second part of that question, is there anything that you need to start doing now, or are there things that are best to do with the ghostwriter? I think we've had a couple of wonderful clients, no names, but one, we'll call her Anita. And yeah, Anita wanted to do all of your work for you rather than letting, just how do they prepare to work with a ghostwriter, whether it's you or somebody else, and what should they expect the process to be?
Okay. Okay. Well, I think the first thing is to do the things that I said previously, because it's good to start with your own reflections and your own ideas and what it is that you want to put out there. So to get that on paper in some way is the first thing. I think the second thing, although it doesn't have to be refined, but to do some reflection on who you want the book to reach also. But I know you do
Ideally.
a ton of work around that, but it's nice to have a start. So not to come in and say, because it will actually save your own time and angst, to have some of those ideas already formulated, in your head before you approach or interview a ghostwriter. I would say, let's see. Well, the way I work is to have a call to just see if we're a fit, to ask questions about what you want the book to do, where you want to go with it, that type of thing is always complimentary, so that there's a vetting, for both of us.
Is it a fit? Yeah.
By the way, it's a very personal thing to do. Again,
Yeah. You have to love your ghostwriter and feel like they get you and they vibe with you and yeah. So
yes. So
that's
there's
important.
that piece to really talk about it with a ghostwriter. And
Mm-hmm.
then we work out, how it's going to look from there. It falls into three stool legs, I would say. And one is someone who is hands off, like the author I mentioned before. So he wanted the book, he wanted it for this. He was an orthodontist starting a teen coaching profession. So he didn't have a whole lot of time. And so it is really gleaning their content, speaking with them a bit. I really don't recommend never speaking with the author, but taking the content where the ghostwriter is really writing most of the book. And then I'll go to the third one. The third one is not unlike the example I gave previously, where she thought she had written the book in a second language. And sure, I just need a little bit of editing. And that was not the case. It really needed to be.
It needed more than people think.
And rearranging and framing in a way that could engage the reader. And then the middle one, I think, is probably the way I enjoy working most. And I think it reflects most of the authors that we work with. And it's an in-between. So they have a lot of content. We can use their content, their talks, their podcasts, as you said. It might be their website copy if it's current and they're not updating it, blogs, things like that. And then, as I mentioned before, and this should probably happen with any ghostwriter, the ghostwriter will be online on Zoom to talk out the chapters, to talk out the concepts, usually monthly. And then there is an exchange depending on how the author likes to work. Everyone is different. Some
That's true.
more hands-on than others to do that combination of I'm writing chapters, I'm sending it back, they're reviewing it, sending it back. We may get on a call and create a chapter together. I've even done VIP half days where we've gone really intensive in the weeds. That's for everybody, but boy, do we get a lot done. So I like to work with the process that the author needs, that they work best in. And I would say, I guess, co-create the book. So it runs into those three categories generally. I think that's basically the process. And then the other piece that I offer, coming from a writing and marketing background, is the area of repurposing content. So,
which is very interesting that you're the only ghostwriter I know who does that, which is one of the reasons that we love being able to have you in-house, because that's something that almost every client we have loves. Tell us, what is that process and what are the benefits of repurposing your book?
Sure. And I think I am the only one I know.
So yeah, no, you're it. Yeah, you're it.
To me. Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems natural when you're working with someone on their book, it very intimately, you know them. And so the one thing I always do is what's called the supplemental text or the book back. So that's the content, their bio and the back of the book and the description on Amazon or wherever.
Super important. Yeah.
Type of thing, which is a marketing piece. And then even before they're published, there is a lot that can be done marketing wise by pulling out aspects of the chapter into, LinkedIn articles, things like that. So or maybe ebooks taken from the book or
a chapter. We had one where they was an extra chapter that didn't fit in the book for a certain gal, Monique, and that became a very, very popular best-selling, short ebook on a particular hot topic that didn't really fit in the book. So that can be, yeah. And didn't you also have one that you wrote, you were repurposing a bunch for the Wall Street Journal at one point with that one client of yours, if I remember correctly. So that it can be articles for PR purposes too.
Absolutely.
And for major publications.
Yes.
Forbes. Forbes, sorry.
Forbes. So we wrote Forbes, on Forbes. And he had a team of a couple of blog writers, but I wrote that myself because I had to be original content. And so, we did that for 2-3 years, and it really had a great effect on his business. It really, right.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the other piece, as you're talking about, not everything gets into the book, as you said before.
Yeah, I mean, people, people think that every word is, going to be precious and get in there. But yeah, at a certain point, some things just don't fit with the overall goal of the book or the marketing purpose of the book, or just doesn't fit. And also, you don't want a 10,000 page book. I mean, yeah. Well, that brings me to that. Yeah. Well, go ahead and tell me more. Tell me more. Yeah.
to that point, I never lose content. I never delete content, so that to the purpose of repurposing, it not all be fitting into the book, but there may be aspects of it that could be written in a different way, that could flesh out a little part of the book or be used in marketing in some way. So always important. One of the biggest issues that I receive personally, and that is talked about out in the book publishing world, are people who write their books and then decide to market it. It's just not a good idea.
No, I think that's the reason people bring the Victory Company itself in, is because it has to be part of an overall strategy to get you more of what you want. Typically more business, more speaking, more consulting, more TED Talks, more whatever, but usually it's how can this get you more business? And then if you're doing that, then you market the book the way you market any other product, which is a big lead into it and an appropriate launch in stages. And we often work with a wonderful publisher, Rebecca Hall-Greuter, and her company. They guarantee absolutely every single time. They've never let us down. It's always been a bestseller. Amazon bestseller, every book we've done with them. But it is, I think I was just getting to like, what are the big mistakes that people make when they're doing their books? And you hit on a big one, which is not not giving themselves enough time to write the book so that they can keep quoting people and talking about it, getting it out super quickly isn't always the goal. And the other is you want to have a good 6 months to ramp up your marketing of the book to take advantage of all the things that marketing a book can give you. And that's what you're talking about. Like you said, they write the book and they, oh, this is all great. And then they like, oh, now I'm going to market it. And it's a totally different thing. I've also we've had some problems with other ghostwriters who shall remain nameless, who were like, yes, I helped them write this beautiful book. And then the clients come to me and they go, yeah, I wrote this great book. But then when they were done, I said, well, how do I market it? They said, I don't know. That's not my department. And, so so finding some sort of team effort or some sort of person that can help you make sure you understand not just the book is done, but the book is actually doing what you want it to do, and from a marketing standpoint, and is successful. So I think that's a big one. That's a really good point.
It's huge. And that's one of the beauties of being on your team. I really love that, because it's a whole support system
from every angle we can think of, for sure.
Definitely. And I think the other piece, I don't know if it's a mistake per se, but the other piece that authors don't know about is the nature of the publishing world. And I won't get into that, but it's very, very different. And they think, oh, I will just send my manuscript to Random House and it will get
they'll be thrilled to get it.
You're the first person to tell them that that's not going to happen. But I just, as general
probably not unless you're very, very famous. We have had some very, very famous clients that have been able to get big deals like that with publishers, but you have to be very famous. You have to have a ginormous number of people following on every possible platform, and it has to be very topical too. But again, it comes down to what you want that book to do for you. I mean, the publishing, big publishing sounds really great, except for nobody goes to Amazon and looks to see like, oh, I wonder who published this. They're looking for a book with a title that has the answer to a problem or something that they want in it. And there's 1,000 different ways to market it. But again, what do you want the book to do? We've had plenty we had a couple that were New York Times bestsellers that were not published through mainstream publishers. So it's the whole industry has changed so much. Even if it's the best book in the world, they're more concerned with how are you going to market the book than is it a good book. I had one client, she had like 14 million followers, and they were really excited to talk to her and gave her a nice big advance. And it did become a New York Times bestseller. And that was fantastic. She was a perfect person for that. But it also takes several years for it to get published. And it's a slow process. So there's a plus and minus to every strategy. You can get in with the bigger publishing houses, but you have to be willing to do a lot of difficult things, like write a very, very, very good proposal and build up a very large amount of followers. So all things are possible, the large publishers and then the micro publishers. Sometimes they're like Rebecca Hall-Greuter's company that we love. Sometimes they can get again, they're so much speedier. They can get the book out. You maintain control of it, but it depends upon the client. But yes, making the assumption that I get that too, if the book is good enough, they're going to want it it's not really a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think generally people don't know. I mean, I'm
You know
still
how the industry works. Yeah. Yeah.
how the industry works. And so we're used to, most of us, many of us have grown up with the big houses, but there is a giant
Things are
hybrid
changing.
publishing
Things
industry.
are changing so
Yes, so
dramatically. Yeah.
not be disheartened.
Yeah, no, there's a way for everybody. There's a way to do it. You know, if speed is important to you, maybe a micro publisher. If speed is not so important, but the big name publisher is, there's a way to do it in each one of these. But yeah, making the assumption that I will write the entire book and then I will market it. I think that was your big point in the beginning. It's a big takeaway that everybody needs to be aware of, the fact that, it's like inventing a new type of soap or any other product. You're going to have to market it as a product, and it will not simply live on its own merits. It just doesn't work that way. So
Right, great point.
good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, no, that was very, very helpful, because I run into that one a lot. But yeah, we could do a whole other episode just on how the publishing industry works. As you know, my mom was the vice president of sales and marketing at Macmillan Publishing, and then was a literary agent for 25 years. So I've seen it from that angle to an extent, and I've seen how things really are changing. But there is a way to become a published author for pretty much anyone. So don't let the fact that you don't have 4 million or 14 million followers keep you from going after your niche that may really need what it is that you have to say. That's what I think. Yeah. Any other big things that people should be aware of or understand about books, or the process of books, or mistakes people make when or things that they may not understand about books and publishing and the whole process?
Well, I think I'm just going to repeat that, everyone who wants to has a book in them. And the idea is, to find your voice and build that book.
Build that brilliant. I think that's when I think of you as, yes, you are the one who can help people, find their voice and build that absolutely brilliant best-selling book. That's very alliterative, but it is also who you are. And I love that. I love that so much about you. So thank you so much for sharing what we all need to know. We'll look forward to having you back on the show again, where we can go into more detail, maybe answer some questions. If you have a burning question, you want to know something about ghostwriting and writing books and publishing and all that kind of stuff, you can feel free to submit them in the comments, and we will have Bettyanne back on to answer all your questions at another time. I promise. I just promised for you. Hope you don't mind. But meanwhile, thanks so much, Bettyanne. I'm a great admirer of yours, huge fan, big fan club. Yay, we all love you at the Victory Company. Always an honor to get to work with you. If people want to get a hold of you, if people want to get in touch with you, or they want to learn more, or just have that quick, 15-30-minute conversation, see if there's any kind of fit there, what is a good way to reach you? Tell us your web address, and they can at least find you on your web address in LinkedIn, maybe.
Sure. So my web address is launching soon, so I'll give you other information, or it might have already launched by the time.
It will have launched by the time this comes out. You're set. Yeah.
By the time this comes out, which will be wonderful. It is Ghostwriting for Leaders. So just as it's spelled, FOR, leaders.com. And actually my email address is Bettyanne, Bettyanne at
ghostwritingforleaders.com. I love the name, by the way. I think it's very much suits you. It's so easy to remember.
Went back and forth and round, and there it is.
You came up with something good. Good job.
Yes. Yeah. And definitely follow me on LinkedIn under Bettyanne Green. I'm planning to be writing more and more myself, the copy
in all your spare time. Yeah.
So
I don't know where you're going to find the time except 3 a.m., honey.
To be honest, I know. To be honest, I have a file of half-written things that I just.
Oh, okay. You're getting it. You got to jump on it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love to write about writing and publishing.
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
Writing books. So I am doing that more.
Definitely. And that'll be available on LinkedIn, and there'll be a link from your website over to LinkedIn to be able to see that. I love your articles. I love when you write. I love your little blog. Even short blogs are always really valuable. So yes, if you want to follow Bettyanne Green for more information on how to write a book, how to write a book successfully, how to work with a ghostwriter or not do it on your own, but all the things you need to know about writing and repurposing and everything. Again, how to find your voice and how to build an absolutely brilliant best-selling book. Bettyanne is our in-house expert, and also you can find her in those two places as well. Well, thank you so much for being on the Inspiring Victory Show, where we help you double your business, double your impact, and change the world. So find your voice, get a hold of Bettyanne, and write that book you've been putting off. You know the world needs it, so get on it. Again, thank you for being here. We love having you as a part of the tribe, and I hope you enjoy every episode. I know this is going to be a particular favorite. Everybody loves Bettyanne Green. Again, thank you for being on the show, Bettyanne, and
Such a pleasure.
it's an honor to have you here again. Go out and do something brave every day, as we all like to say at the Victory Company. And thank you for continuing to share and support the show. We all really appreciate it. Have a great day and make it a great one.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Marites Bott of Bott & Associates.
I'm so honored to get to be with our wonderful sponsor for the Inspiring Victory show. And I want to make sure you know a little bit more about her and about what they do, because I think it'd be really helpful for all of us as business people and just in our personal lives. Marites does a lot of speaking, as many of you probably know, but I love one of the speeches that she's famous for, which is A Generous Legacy, the Power of Future-Proofing Your Business and your personal life. And that's really what you are all about. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you. And can you give us an example of somebody who's come to you and how you were able to help them that might be able to help all of us as we navigate our financial planning as well as our estate planning for business and for personal?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. We do a lot of estate planning, obviously, as well as the financial planning for our clients. And a story that I think is a great way to showcase what we do is this wonderful couple that we met back in, I want to say 2015. They came in for a consultation. So they are certainly a wonderful couple, blended family. So second marriage for both of them. He has children and she does not. Basically, they were saying to me, Marites, I really want my estate plan to be secure. I want it to be ironclad so it goes to the right people. Particularly the wife was concerned that this money goes to her charities, which she was very, very active in and volunteers quite a bit. She puts her hard-earned money with them. And she also wants to make sure her husband is taken care of as well. So she wanted to do both objectives at the same time. We were like, of course we can help you with that. We want to make sure that we write everything down and just like you said, make it ironclad so that there's no contest. There's nobody trying to get to the money inappropriately. Right. So we created a wonderful estate plan for them. So that was 2015. Now, sadly, she unexpectedly passed a few years later. And her surviving spouse came to us and he really needed help. He was so, of course, distraught and super, super sad. But he was also very concerned about the financial pieces. He wasn't that familiar with financial instruments. There was 13, 14, 15 accounts that she had. And of course, he was like, I'm confused. What do I do with all of this? So we said, okay, we're going to take care of you. We got this. And we were able to really take a hold of all those instruments and all those accounts. And on our financial side of our business, we were able to consolidate them, invest it in very prudent investments and make sure it's easy for him to manage. So we were able to do that within 3 to 6 months. His late wife's wishes of him being able to live on that money and then eventually at his death give it to her charities is exactly what's going to happen. So wonderful to be able to plan it properly, give her peace of mind. A few years later, we're honoring 100% of her wishes. This money is not going to go to anybody inappropriately. And her beneficiaries, her charities, are going to be so happy to be able to get this money upon his death because he is still able to live on that income. So I love those stories because to me, we work so hard. We sacrifice daily, right? We work so hard and we want to be able to take our money and be able to give it to people that we love and charities that we believe in.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I always enjoy spending time with you. And yeah, you're one of the people I always find so much value in talking to. You're just walking integrity and you're a good soul. And you help people. You help people. So thank you
I
for
appreciate it.
being on the show again and for sharing with us and for always doing such a great job for everybody. And now that you're able to do even more and be more of a one-stop shop to help people with all these different issues, I think your company and you are even more valuable. Thank you so much. Always
Thank
lovely to see you.
you.
Marites Bott and
Appreciate it.
Associates. If it's something that you need, be sure and contact Marites right away. Thank you.